Thank you for joining today's session. We will be getting started shortly. We do have a lot of folks signed up for today's session, and we want to give everyone a moment to log on and get connected so that we can dive into today's session. I do want to thank you all for joining us today. I am Jasmine Garrett here with the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Today's session is an informational overview on the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2. A quick housekeeping note, we do suspect that many questions will be answered in today's presentation. However, you are able to write in questions at any point during the presentation using Zoom's Q&A feature. It is one of your Zoom command options and will allow us to make sure we're able to get back to you and let others see these questions and answers as well. Today's session is being recorded and will also be posted on our NJEDA and YouTube pages. The slides and other resources will also be available in the next few days. Now, to get us started with the presentation, I will shift things over to NJEDA's Team Lead of Workforce Innovation Partnerships, Kathy Uhas. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar this morning on the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge, Phase 2. Today's agenda includes information on the NJEDA and Workforce Innovation Partnerships, an overview of the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2, and question and answer period at the end. Just a note on the question and answer, as Jasmine said, we will be using the Q&A feature only. We will monitor the Q&A feature throughout the presentation and answer questions on a rolling basis, although we will have also time at the end where you can submit more questions in the Q&A feature and we will answer them as well at that time. Okay, let's get started. All right. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority grows the state's economy and increases equitable access to opportunity by supporting high-quality job creation, catalyzing investment, and fostering vibrant, inclusive community development. The EDA works in partnership with a diverse range of stakeholders to implement programs and initiatives that improve quality of life, enhance economic vitality, and strengthen New Jersey's long-term economic competitiveness. The Workforce Innovation Partnerships works to, one, create and support workforce development initiatives that strengthen New Jersey's innovation ecosystem and address the state's needs in advanced manufacturing, clean energy, film and television, life sciences, and technology. Number two, facilitate career awareness and other opportunities for residents of overburdened communities and ensure the inclusion and access of people of color, women, and veterans in workforce development programs. And three, create and support career awareness and exploration initiatives that enable greater understanding of career pathways, opportunities, and the education needed to pursue high-quality employment in the state's priority sectors. Okay, so next we will go over the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2. Okay, so the EDA approved a new competitive grant opportunity in December 2025 to develop or expand workforce training programs that prepare New Jerseyans for jobs in the green economy with a focus on New Jersey's overburdened communities. There is up to $4 million in funding with permitted awards ranging from $500,000 to $800,000. Private and nonprofit entities are eligible to apply as the primary applicant. Applicant teams are required to include a community-based organization serving New Jersey's overburdened communities. Programs are required to include direct workforce training and, where relevant, wraparound supports such as access to career services, mentorship, family services, and transportation. Programs must focus on one or more eligible green economy industry and only one priority occupation. These will be defined in later slides in the presentation. And we expect to make multiple awards. Okay, up to 4 million in funding available, as I stated before, is earmarked to fund proposals across all eligible green economy industries, which include renewable energy technologies, green design and construction, environmental and green infrastructure, grid resilience, clean transportation, and energy efficiency. And these will be defined further later in the presentation as well. The grant challenge is open to all applicants that can design and execute workforce and skills training programs for the green economy industry. These entities can include community-based organizations, workforce training organizations, labor unions, technical high schools, county colleges, nonprofit organizations, regional workforce development boards, private companies, and other related entities. All applications must include at least one community-based organization, which I will refer to as a CBO, with demonstrated experience serving a New Jersey overburdened community as defined by New Jersey's environmental justice law. The CBO can be the applicant or a collaborator. The following documentation must be submitted for the CBO that is the applicant or the CBO partner of the non-CBO applicant. So you must include a current IRS Form 990 to provide status as a 501c3 nonprofit organization and a letter detailing their experience serving a New Jersey overburdened community as defined by New Jersey's environmental justice law. In the application, you will also be asked to answer the following questions. Which New Jersey overburdened community does the CBO serve? Which specific services does the CBO provide the communities that they serve? And provide the CBO's web address if it is available. For the purposes of this grant challenge, a CBO is defined as a 501c3 nonprofit organization and provides direct services or supports to a specific geographic New Jersey community or specific segments of a New Jersey community. For purposes of this challenge, the following are not CBOs, but can be primary applicants or an additional collaborator on the grant challenge. Those include government entities, K through 12 schools, and institutions of higher learning. Overburdened communities, which I'll refer to as OBCs, by law are census blocks. And those census block groups are characterized by having at least 35% low-income households, or at least 40% of the residents identify as minority or as members of a state-recognized tribal community, or at least 40% of the households have limited English proficiency. You can learn more about overburdened communities by going to the link in the QR code on this slide. We ask that you prioritize OBCs in your proposals, program design to align with the evaluation criteria, which we will go over later in the presentation. To promote collaboration and applications from a wide group of entities, EDA will provide an optional opportunity for interested entities to complete a form indicating their interest in participating in the challenge and the types of services they are positioned to provide as part of an applicant team. This is completely voluntary and will not impact an applicant's ability to obtain funds through this challenge. Entities interested in collaborating on an applicant team may submit an optional potential collaborator form, which is available on the Grant Challenge webpage by February 27th at 5 p.m. Responses from the forms will be shared with all entities that submitted the form. However, EDA will not be coordinating the formation of the teams. The scope of work includes the following. One is to develop or expand a program that will allow New Jerseyans to access workforce opportunities in high growth and in-demand occupations in green economy industries, as referenced below, by providing tangible skills and industry recognized credentials sought by employers in those industries. Components of programs must include direct workforce training and skill development, and where relevant, support services. Engage with industry and other stakeholders to design and implement a program that prepares and connects participants with near-term job opportunities in the green economy in high growth and in-demand occupations. Applicants are expected to demonstrate that their proposed program will provide meaningful career opportunities through labor market research, employer and industry engagements, and other relevant analysis. Third, develop and/or utilize outreach and recruitment practices, program design approaches, and wraparound supports as needed, such as mentorship, transportation, and childcare that target and support a diverse and inclusive pool of training participants to successfully complete the program. As we continue with what should be included in the scope of work, we have defined the program evaluation and success metrics such as recruitment, enrollment, completion, job placement, and learning acquisition goals. Target and engage residents of New Jersey's overburdened communities with training opportunities that will enable economic mobility for these residents in green economy careers. Collect, track, and report programmatic data, including trainee demographics, trainee surveys, instructor evaluations, training enrollments and completions, and job placement and retention information. If applicable, include strategies to connect current and aspiring workforce with skills-based training targeted to transitioning legacy energy workers, and execute the project on schedule, achieving well-defined milestones to complete the to complete the initiative. Programs must focus workforce development training, internship, apprenticeships, and learning opportunities in only one of the following occupations. And those are electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters and steam fitters, heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration mechanics and installers, first-line supervisors of construction trades and extraction workers, construction laborers, construction managers, sheet metal workers, carpenters, welders, cutters, solderers, and brazers, operating engineers and other construction equipment operators, solar photovoltaic installers, and general maintenance and repair workers. More information on these occupations can be found at the QR code that is on this slide, and that takes you to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Programs can focus on one or more of the eligible green economy industries that I stated earlier, and we will go into detail on each one of these on the next few slides. Renewable energy technologies is inclusive of careers in the development and generation of solar, geothermal, hydropower, marine, and biomass energy. Green design and construction is inclusive of careers in the green design and construction of new and retrofitting of existing buildings, as well as the installation of green construction technology that can help decarbonize and improve the resiliency of our built environment. Environmental and green infrastructure is inclusive of careers that utilize natural systems and innovative technologies that help mitigate and adapt to climate change impacts and reduce stormwater runoff. Grid resilience is inclusive of careers that transform our power sector infrastructure to supply clean electricity and increase the reliability and resilience of our power grid. Clean transportation careers reduce the environmental impact of the transportation sector, including across all classes of automotive vehicles, mass transit, vessels, and aviation, while advancing infrastructure developments that support walking and micro-mobility options. And energy efficiency is defined to include careers that improve energy efficiency and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Individual awards can range from a minimum of $500,000 to a maximum of $800,000 to support planning, soft launch, capital costs, implementation costs, and indirect costs. No more than 10% of the grant amount can be used on indirect costs such as general administration and general overhead. No more than 30% can be applied for construction costs. Program must comply with prevailing wage, affirmative action, and New Jersey contractor registration requirements. Awarded applicants will be required to engage with the New Jersey Department of Labor regarding registering any training programs on the eligible training provider list. Grants will be dispersed in 3 phases, according to the following milestones that will be detailed in the grant agreement. 30% of the grant award for those applicants that are selected for an award would be dispersed upon execution of a grant agreement. 30% of the grant award will be dispersed upon the applicant, well, actually, the awardee having initiated the training and submission of quarterly reports, and then 40% upon receipt of the final report and based upon meeting specific program milestones and deliverables to be defined by the applicant and approved by the EDA for those applicants that are selected for an award. The milestones include the following. Milestone 1 is 10% of the final 40% of the grant award, prorated against the proposed number of participants completing the program, so long as at least 25% of the proposed participants completed the program. Milestone 2 is 10% of the final 40% of the grant award, prorated against the proposed number of program graduates placed in employment, paid internship, or apprenticeship within the industry or trained occupation within 90 calendar days of program completion, so long as at least 25% of the proposed participants were placed. And milestone 3 is 20% of the final 40% of the grant award, which will be dispersed upon our review of the final report. And the final report will be due 120 calendar days after the end of the project term. Applicants must meet the 25% threshold for each milestone in order to receive the entire or partial disbursement for the respective milestone. Here is an example of the prorated disbursement. For example, if a $500,000 grant is awarded based on the following proposed program outcomes, 80 participants completing the training and 70 program graduates being placed into employment, paid internship, or apprenticeship in the green economy industry or trained occupation within 90 calendar days of the program completion, disbursements would be as follows. In scenario 1, if 80 of the 80 participants completed the training, then 50,000 would be dispersed for the milestone related to completion. And if 70 of the proposed 70 graduates were placed, then 50,000 would be received for the disbursement based on placement. In scenario 2, if 75 of the 80 participants completed the training, then $46,875, which is about 94% of that milestone amount, would be received for the completion disbursement. And then if 70 out of 70 graduates were placed, the full amount would be received. For scenario 3, if 60 of 80 participants completed the training, then $37,500 would be awarded for this milestone. And if 17 of the 70 graduates were placed, no funding would be awarded for this milestone since it is less than the 25% threshold. As you move through the application, there are required documents that will be needed to be submitted in the application portal. And those are listed here. We have the certificate of alternate name, if applicable, primary applicants' organizational formation documents will be required, religious affiliation, if that is applicable to your organization, current IRS Form 990, as stated earlier, from the CBO, that is the applicant, or the CBO partner of the non-CBO applicant to provide the status of the organization as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, a signed letter from the CBO, that is the applicant, or the CBO partner of the non-CBO applicant, detailing their experience serving a New Jersey overburdened community as defined by the New Jersey Environmental Justice Law, narrative responses saved as a PDF, the program budget using the EDA's template, that is, both of those items are required, a visualization of the timeline in a table, Gantt chart, graphic, or the sample implementation plan template that will be provided in the application, in addition to your description of your timeline in the narrative response. A legal questionnaire is required. Certificate of non-involvement in prohibited activities in Russia or Belarus is also required. And then certificate of application is required. The application portal is online. You can create or log in to an existing account. If you would register if you do not have an EDA Application Center account, sign in with username and email if you already have an account. The application must be completely filled and submitted before 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on April 20th, 2026. Otherwise, the application will not go through if it is after 5 p.m. on April 20th. For troubleshooting or further instructions on the Application Center, use the website for guidance, and the QR link here will take you to the Application Center webpage, and we will also have screenshots of the sample application on the webpage for you to peruse before actually going into the application portal, if you would like. The evaluation criteria for the grant challenge is listed below. There's 5 criteria. I will go into them in more detail on the following slides. One thing to note here, or 2 things to note here actually, is the highest possible score is 100 points, and the minimum score required to be considered for an award is 80 points. Okay, the first evaluation criteria is the ability to meet the needs of New Jersey's burgeoning green economy industries for the total of 35 points, which includes detailing a compelling, impactful, and scalable program concept that will provide industry recognized credentials and fulfill a workforce related need in one or more of New Jersey's green economy industries and position New Jerseyans to enter a thriving career in a green economy sector. It also includes outlining a clear strategy to engage industry and build a network of employer partners who will be integrated into the program, including to develop industry-vetted curriculum, selection of training candidates, job placement in near-term employment opportunities, and other relevant processes. The second evaluation criteria is the ability to serve New Jersey's overburdened communities for 10 points. For up to 10 points. That includes identifying steps for how the applicant will recruit and serve members of New Jersey's overburdened communities based on geographical considerations. The third evaluation criteria is the ability to provide wraparound supports and affordable training, which is up to which is an up to 15 points. And this includes clearly identifying which wraparound supports will be provided to training participants, such as transportation, social services, career readiness, childcare, housing assistance, and providing an approach to how these services will be provided, and also outlining the approach to offer low or no cost training to participants. Excuse me. The fourth evaluation criteria is prior experience and ability to implement the program for up to 30 points. And this includes detailing a track record of related experiences operating workforce development programs, including experience recruiting, training, and/or providing services to a diverse group of participants, has a team with qualifications and experience required to design and implement the program, and provides a realistic implementation plan, including strategies to mitigate anticipated challenges, as well as describing an approach to conduct ongoing program evaluation and improvement. The last evaluation criteria is budget and associated milestones, excuse me, which provides a realistic and complete budget for the proposed program and proposed number of training participants, including the template provided in the application guidance. Okay. Provided that one or more applications are submitted for each region which meet or exceed the minimum score requirement of 80 points, the highest rank application from each region will be recommended to the EDA board for award approval within the funding available for the program. So in order to provide grants and support projects by different entities in various regions of the state, EDA will seek to make a minimum of one award per state region, contingent on the availability of funds, as described below. The South region includes the following counties: Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Cape May, Cumberland, Gloucester, Monmouth, Ocean, and Salem. The North region includes Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Morris, Passaic, Sussex, Union, and Warren. And the Central region includes Hunterdon, Mercer, Middlesex, and Somerset. This will The steps that will allow us to provide awards based on these geographic regions are the following. Step 1, the highest scored eligible application in the pool will be recommended to the board for approval, irrespective of the region. Step 2, the next highest scored eligible application from the other remaining regions will be recommended to the board for approval, contingent on the availability of funds. And step 3, the next highest scored eligible application from the remaining region will be recommended to the board for approval, contingent on the availability of funds. Following this step, all remaining applications will be merged into a single group and scored. The highest scoring applications from the merged group will be recommended to the board for award approval until all program funding is awarded. NJEDA will electronically accept written questions and inquiries from all potential applicants sent via email to workforceinnovation@njeda.gov. Phone calls and faxes shall not be accepted. The subject line of the email should state questions New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2. The final due date for the questions is March 20th at 5 p.m. The EDA will post answers on a rolling basis on the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2 website until 5 p.m. on March 31st. Applications are due on April 20th at 5 p.m. Excuse me. On February 12th, we submitted on the NJEDA website the notice of funding availability. On February 19th, we launched the applications at 10 a.m. So the application portal opened at 10 a.m. And today we're having our webinar. And on March 20th, question submissions will close at 5 p.m. The Q&A, as I stated before, will be posted on a rolling basis on the web page until March 31st. And applications you can access the web page at the link here for this grant challenge or using the QR code on the screen. And if you would like to learn more about the Workforce Innovation Partnerships, the link here is also will also take you to our web page on the Workforce Innovation Partnerships team. And that is the end of the webinar information on the New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2. And we can take more questions and answers in the Q&A feature at this time. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Ramsey. I'm Director of Workforce Innovation Partnerships here at NJEDA, and I support Kathy in the implementation of this grant. So a few questions that are still coming in the chat. When is the expected award date? We cannot confirm a specific date given all of the processes that have to take place and also not knowing how many applications we will receive, but we hope to be able to at least take awards to our board for approval by late summer. But again, we can't confirm that date because we don't know how many applications we have yet. Will the slides and this webinar recording be made available? Yes, it will. It will be posted to our product page and also be available on YouTube. Similar question about emailing the PowerPoint. It'll be available. We won't email it, but it'll be available on our product page. Similar questions. Do we need a local organization if we are a 503c? That exactly, if I'm interpreting the question correctly, again, you could be a nonprofit organization that as an applicant, but if you are not a CBO, you would need a CBO as a collaborator on your application. So I hope that answers that question. We also did receive a few questions in advance during registration, so I'll just go over those briefly. The first was, what are the qualifications for a grant for EV trucking business startup? So for that questioner, if you're seeking funding to start an EV trucking business, that is not an eligible use of funds for this grant program, but otherwise an EV trucking business is a private company and could submit a proposal to implement workforce development training as long as they met the other eligibility requirements. We had two similar questions. How would the effectiveness of these workforce development programs be evaluated? And I would like to hear more about the types of local partnerships you would like to see. I would refer you to the scoring criteria and the program specifications. So we ask applicants to provide a detailed explanation on their ability to meet the needs of New Jersey's green economy industries, their ability to serve New Jersey's overburdened communities, their ability to provide wraparound supports and low or no cost training, prior experience creating and implementing workforce development initiatives, and associated milestones and budget. Also, as part of the application, applicants must define program evaluation and success metrics such as recruitment, enrollment, completion, job placement, and learning acquisition goals. And we also ask applicants to describe their approach to conduct ongoing program evaluation and improvement. Another question was, are small developers eligible for phase 2? And yes, they are. Private organizations are eligible as long as they meet all of the other eligibility requirements. And the other question was, will NJEDA have similar programs in 2026? So at this time, we can't determine if there will be similar programs in 2026, but I would encourage everyone, if you're not already on the EDA mailing list. You can sign up on the EDA's front page near the bottom. You can put in your email and sign up for our EDA's mailing list where you get the kind of public announcements about what's coming up next. Um, Question, are universities considered eligible to apply or higher education institutions? And yes, absolutely. Universities and county colleges are eligible applicants. Um, are eligible applicants. However, universities and county colleges do not qualify as CBOs for the purpose of this grant challenge. So if a university or county college was the primary applicant, they would need to include a CBO serving a New Jersey overburdened community as a collaborator in their proposed program. Another question, are state universities able to apply for this grant as other related entities? For state universities that really apply, that really depends on how your institution was chartered. But generally, you can apply as an other related entity or as a government body. You're probably in a better position to determine what business formation you should choose under. But usually it's other entity or government body. Um, Eligibility for OBCs, must our location be within an OBC or that we serve an OBC? So again, if we answered that earlier, the applicant does not need to be located in an overburdened community. However, the evaluation criteria asks applicants to identify steps for how the applicant will recruit and serve members of New Jersey's overburdened communities based on geographical considerations. There was another question about what constitutes a qualified employer partner. We don't use that language qualified employer partner in the grant announcement, but again, I'll point you to our scoring criteria, especially scoring criteria one, which is the ability to meet the needs of New Jersey's burgeoning green economy industries. In summary, we ask you to ask applicants to detail a compelling, impactful, and scalable program concept that will provide industry recognized credentials and fulfill a workforce development need in the green economy industry. And we also ask applicants to outline a clear strategy to engage industry and build a network of employee partners who will be integrated into the program and support the program in other ways. So again, if you go to scoring criteria one, you will see that detail there. The last question we got in advance was, are international firms eligible and is in-person training required? So yes, international firms are eligible as long as they are registered to do business in New Jersey and meet all the other eligibility requirements. And as far as in-person training required, training programs must either be in person or hybrid, meaning they include both a virtual component and an in-person component. The program must describe a clear approach to make the training accessible for and targeted to New Jersey's residents and linked to New Jersey employment opportunities in the green economy, occupations, and industries. So those were our advanced questions. Gotten quite a few other questions as I was going through those, so we'll try to answer those. Do you forfeit your copyright to workforce training content if used in this program? I'm not sure I exactly understand the question, but if the question is, do you retain rights to your workforce development program or have to turn them over to the EDA as a result of applying for this grant, the answer would be no. If we have a start date of September 1st, 2026, would that be too aggressive in our timeline of implementation? Again, I stated earlier, we are hoping to make awards sometime in late summer, but after awards are made, there's still quite a bit. We have to execute a grant, go through a grant execution process with the awardees, so we cannot guarantee that we'd be able to get to an implementation date for September 1st. So again, as we sit here now, that may be aggressive, but again, until we see how many applications we receive and what our workload is going to be like to getting to awards, we can't say for sure. Can the past experience be international if it is relevant? Sure. I mean, any experience is relevant, so we would encourage you again within the grant specifications. If you have experience that's international, I would encourage you to include that with your application. Does the workforce development program need to be free to participants? It does not. I just want to refer to the exact language we use in our grant proposal, in our specifications. So, so if you go to our scoring criteria, again, a lot of the information you need is there. Um, Scoring criteria three is ability to provide wraparound supports and low or no cost training. Low or no cost training. So no, it does not need to be free to participants, but we, again, part of the criteria is to provide low or no cost training. That criteria states clear identify. Under that criteria, we ask you to outline an approach to offer low or no cost training to participants. Uh, the next question was, what category would weatherization installation technicians and energy auditors fall in? I answered a previous question about what occupations were eligible for this grant. So while Kathy spoke to occupations and also kind of subsectors in the green economy, again, if you go to our specifications, you can see the occupations that you must train for to be eligible in this grant. And I'll go through them quickly. Plumbers, pipe fitters, and steam fitters, heat, air conditioning, and refrigeration mechanics and installers, first line supervisors of construction trades and extraction workers, construction laborers, construction managers, sheet metal workers, carpenters, welders, cutters, solderers, and brazers, operating engineers and other construction equipment operators, solar photovoltaic installers, maintenance and repair workers, general. And these are, you can find those definitions in and descriptions of those in the September 2025 Green Jobs Report from the state, but also if you go to the standard occupation classifications from 2018, go to their website, you can also see explicit definitions about what those occupations entail. It said, could you revisit the slide that showed 10% for administering and other percentages, or just respond with percentages here, please? Kathy, can you go back to that? I don't have that in front of me. Can you
Yes,
repeat that?
I believe this is the group of slides. Let me just move this out of the way. Okay, so we have the grant disbursement for those applicants that will be awarded. It's 30% upon execution of the grant agreement, and then another 30% upon the awardee having initiated the training and submission of quarterly reports up until that time. And then the last 40% is upon receipt of the final report and based upon meeting specific program milestones and deliverables. And that last 40% is based off of these three milestones. You have milestone one, which is 10% of the final 40% of the grant award, prorated against the proposed number of participants completing the program. So long as at least 25% of the proposed participants complete the program. Milestone two is 10% of the final 40% of the grant award, prorated against the proposed number of program graduates placed in employment, paid internship or apprenticeship within the industry or trained occupation within 90 calendar days of the program completion, so long as at least 25% of the proposed participants were placed. And then milestone three is 20% of the final 40% of the grant award will be dispersed upon our review of the final report, which would be due 120 calendar days after the end of the project term. So the last 40% that's dispersed includes these three milestones here.
So, Kathy, I think the question was referring to the 10% for administration.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was referring to the milestones. The 10% for administering and other percentages. Okay, so that is Grant amount and eligible costs. So no more than 10% of the grant amount can be used on indirect costs such as general administration and general overhead. And in the application, there is the budget template is also available on the webpage. And in there, you'll see an extensive spreadsheet on how to determine uh, you know, where this 10% administration and overhead falls. It's 10% of the direct costs, and um, we have a glossary of terms in that spreadsheet as well, so that will help you to determine those percentages.
Thanks, Kathy.
Hmm.
Question about can public colleges that are not 501(c)(3)s can they be the lead applicant but must include a CBO as a partner? Yes. So a public college or county college, whether you're a 501(c)(3) or not, are not considered CBO, so they must include a CBO partner. Can a CBO serve as the lead while a technical school or consultant delivers the credential training? If I'm interpreting this correctly, a CBO can be the applicant or be a collaborator with another applicant. So a CBO can serve as the lead if you mean is the lead the actual applicant for the grant. And yes, they can. It said, based on the presentation, it appears that funding is reimbursed based on milestones met. Is this correct? It's correct in part. Kathy, do you want to just go back to the milestones page?
Yes.
Partially correct, but Kathy can elaborate again.
So the disbursements, there's 3 disbursements as stated previously. So the last disbursement, which is 40% of the grant award, includes the milestones, which are listed here. So it's not necessarily that it's reimbursement, but you will have completed those milestones by the end of the program in order to receive the last 40%. But if the 25% threshold for each you have to meet the 25% threshold for each milestone in order to receive the entire or partial disbursement for these milestones. So there are only 3 disbursements as stated on this slide.
Okay. Next question is, what is the period of performance? So the performance period would begin upon the signing of the executed grant agreement between EDA and the applicant. And Kathy, I believe it's 2.5 years if you're also doing
Design.
program
Hmm.
design, it's 2.5 years. So the program of performance would have to be within that 2.5 years. If you're not doing program design and you're ready to go, I believe it's just 2 years, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As a green workforce training program, can trainees be developed for cross-sector opportunities? For example, strengthening skills in defense manufacturing while expanding capabilities for a green technology. Again, to be in line with this grant, again, if you look into the program specifications, there are very specific occupations that we're asking grantees to train for, and funding that you receive, that awardees receive from this grant should be dedicated to that training. If you're providing supplemental skill training to your participants in addition to what you're doing with our grant funding, that's fine. There's no prohibition against that. But again, our grant funding should be dedicated to training for the occupations which are listed in our program specifications. When does the application launch? The application has already launched. It launched on the 19th, and the application will close on April 20th.
20th.
April 20th. The webinar should be posted no later than tomorrow, I would think. Yeah, it shouldn't take us long to get it up. Says, can you please share the link for those reports and definitions you just mentioned? We will, there'll be a sample application which will have the links to those reports and the links you'll need to complete your application posted shortly. But those, a lot of the specifications and things you need to apply for the grant are already listed on our website. Is the project term 12 month? I just answered that. If you're doing project design, it's 2.5 years. If you're just implementing, it's 2 years. A 5-year training program would not fit within the specifications of this grant. The program performance period would have to be under 2.5 years.
Yeah, the exact language from the program specifications, which is also found on the webpage, is the project term will be 30 months, which includes a maximum allowance of 6 months for the completion of program design. There is one 6-month extension that may be granted, at which case the maximum project term cannot exceed 36 months.
It says for milestone 3, I do not see a 25% threshold, so it looks like milestone 3 is paid at 20% just by completing your program and waiting 120 days. Correct, Kathy? Can you go to milestone 3? I'm not sure what
Yes.
you're referring to. Can you just answer that question, please?
Yes, milestone 3 is for the final report. So 20% of the final 40% of the grant award will be dispersed upon our review of the final report. And the final report is due 120 calendar days after the end of the project term.
Yeah. So can an applicant include covering all training costs in partnership with a technical school? If the technical school is your collaborator and your budget and your costs are going to be budgeted for that collaborator, I mean, technically there's no prohibition against that, but as the lead applicant, obviously you would just have to um, be clear and specify what costs were going to be absorbed by the lead applicant and what costs would be absorbed by your partner in the technical school. Um, there is a question about our specifications about, reserving a royalty-free, non-exclusive license to reproduce. We're going to take that question back and post it publicly for everyone to see. So I see the question there. Give us a minute to go back to our colleagues, and we will definitely post an answer to that question. And I think we've answered all the questions. Kathy, I don't think I missed anything.
I don't think so. That's it.
Okay. So Kathy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. And you know, thank you again for joining us this morning, and we will post this webinar to our webpage where all of the other content and information is located for this New Jersey Green Workforce Training Grant Challenge Phase 2. And thank you very much. That's the end of our presentation.